So we have always wondered how we can make it a, a regular conversation, a conversation that, if I'm coughing or I'm having a cold, how would I discuss this with a friend or reach out to a doctor for help or reach out to a medicine and treat myself? Why can't it be so common, and why should we be hiding about it? Sometimes we don't even know the symptoms. What are those symptoms that we can reach out to a counselor, to a specialist for help? Or we just feeling or thinking or judging ourselves constantly. So we said, why keep thinking about it all the time? Let's get an expert on board. And today we have this lovely lady here. She's Shrutkirti Fadnavis. She's worked as a psychologist since last 12 years, and she has explored various aspects of counseling psychology, passionate about learning and growing as per evolving and dynamic aspects of human behaviors. The key areas that she works includes emotional issues, interpersonal issues, anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, compulsive disorders, personality disorders, PSTD, behavioral issues, and various other things. She has delivered TED Talk, and you must see it. It is there on YouTube, debunking the myths about psychologists. And was invited to speak on internal podcast with Anchor FM on the topic, understanding ourselves as well as those in the know, chewing the psychological fat. That was quite a funny topic, I thought.
Yeah.
She's also a panel psychologist therapist in the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation. So Shrutkirti, over to you, all yours.
Thank you, Smita. That's a very beautiful introduction that I have received, and I'm very, like I said, I was saying, you mentioned it. You're saying you're humbled, but I am. I mean, it's a very beautiful feeling to talk about something that I have been working and striving hard towards for a lot of years, and I'm getting an opportunity to speak about it in a inclusive, inclusive environment where we not only will speak about mental health, but you have your extreme and your expansive work that Kelp HR has done in POSH, and how mental health is also related to that. And it's all interlinked, and it's all interrelated, and it's always going to be. But people actually treat psychology as a outcast. They behave as if it's going to be something which is from a different planet. And that's why they find it very difficult to talk about. It's like, I don't know, for a few years back, even POSH was something which was in the similar light. I mean, a lot of people did not speak about POSH for a lot of years. I mean, POSH wasn't even existing till the case that came up, right? So I always wonder if the way people are now growing aware of the need for POSH, will people be ever aware of the need for mental health or no? That is the question, And I personally feel there are a lot of misconceptions. And like we always say, that half information is dangerous than wrong information, probably. If you are learning something from a wrong source, you will always have information that's more dangerous to you than like a little bit of information. So my question is here, are we really ready to learn about mental health? This is like, are we really open to do our minds actually have that openness right now, that yes, you know what, I want to learn, I want to be aware of mental health, and that's when we start. So I will definitely start with the misconceptions that mental health has in, people have those misconceptions in their mind about mental health. So I think about a few months back, like last year, we uh, actually conducted a awareness program, and Smita was also a part of it. It was about creating awareness for mental health and creating the need for awareness and the need for people to come out and talk about it. So the thing is, if you want me to start about the misconceptions, there are lots, there are plenty. The first misconception is people do not know the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, as basic as that. So misconception is something that, why would I go to a psychiatrist and why would I go to a psychologist? Do you know the difference between that? So if you are um, someone who's suffering from an intensive psychological disorder, you will have to go to a psychiatrist because psychiatrists are doctors. They provide you with medication, and psychologists are more of people who. So there are again different types of psychologists. One is a clinical psychologist. One is a counseling psychologist. So a clinical psychologist will test. So there are tests through which there is diagnosis. Until and unless there is diagnosis, you can't have a plan of action to kind of what to do about the treatment. So to plan the treatment, you first need a diagnosis. So clinical psychologists will test you, they will diagnose you, and then you will go to a counseling psychologist for therapy. So counseling psychologists essentially give you like coping mechanisms or behavioral strategies that help you deal with your own issues in a better way. So like I've always mentioned, that people actually, so the biggest second misconception that we can talk about here is how people think that it is, if I'm going to a psychologist, I'm mad. Am I mad to go to a psychologist? So, like I said, like very rightly, Smita started off by saying that can we have a conversation about mental health like we do when we have a cough or a cold? So, why is it that we don't treat like mental health like we treat physical health? Is it not a part of us? Why is it that we need to be so anxious about talking about mental health? And why is it that we actually feel the need to shy away from it? If am I going to shy away to say I have fever? No, I will not. So why do I shy away from saying, oh, you know what, I think I need help because I'm going through something that's causing me mental discomfort? Why is it that it kind of challenges your strength or your self-esteem when it's not supposed to? It's not a question about your strength or your self-esteem. You are a very strong person, but then you need help when it comes to something that is bothering you or causing you discomfort. You can't. Are you going to say I'm not strong enough because I went to a doctor for kind of working or healing my fracture? You won't. For broken bones, if you go to a doctor, are you going to say I'm not strong enough? No. So that's the same thing when it comes to going to a psychologist. It's very essential that you understand that psychologists are there only to make things easier for you. You are the only person who's going to deal with all your issues. Like I always say that the psychologist acts like a GPS. You are the one on the driver's seat. You are the one who's going to drive the car. You are the one who's going to take all the decisions. But a psychologist will just tell you that, oh, if you go from this way, you'll not have traffic or probably you'll reach sooner. So that's how is that bad? You're instead of hard work, you're choosing to work smart. And that's what you're doing when you are actually coming out in the open and saying, yes, I think I need help. And there's nothing wrong in saying that I need help. So basically, so the myth that you need to be like weak mentally to go to a psychologist is absolutely baseless. I have seen strongest of the people become stronger because they opted for therapy. And that's exactly what we should aim at, because we need to prioritize ourselves instead of worrying about what other people are going to say, what the world is going to say. Just make sure that you do what is necessary for you, prioritize yourself. Okay. Another misconception, I'm going to go point wise. So another misconception that people have about psychologists is that, they will judge you. I mean, because there are a lot of things that are there in every person's life, हर किसी के ऊपर हम कहानी लिख सकते हैं, हर किसी की जिंदगी एक कहानी है. Your life is a story. Everybody's life is a story. Everybody's life is, has certain areas in it where you can actually uh, feel like, they're the biggest obstacles that anyone can face. And speaking it out in front of a third person might give you some anxiety, some discomfort, some uneasiness. How am I going to speak about things that I have been? So when you come in therapy, you are basically unlocking your demons and facing them. So there is a possibility that you might kind of feel overwhelmed, and you might kind of feel that I am talking about the most delicate, deepest secrets of my life in front of someone. What if the person creates an opinion about me? So this is something that you really need to circle clear of, because as a trained psychologist, the first thing you're taught is you're not supposed to judge. So we are probably the most non-judgmental people that you know you can ever meet. So now coming to a few more myths that actually we can, like, we don't even think that they matter. They seem insignificant, but are extremely important to be aware of, So one myth is that psychologist can be one of your best friends. No, he or she cannot be your friend because he or she is your therapist or your psychologist. They are supposed to, guide you through your journey of self-discovery or your journey of dealing with your own issues. They are not supposed to be your friend. So it's a misconception that, that yes, there can be a great rapport, there can be a level of comfort, you can speak whatever you want to feel like, but the psychologist will never be your friend. And on the same note,
Nitin, can you put yourself on mute, please?
Rita, can we do it for them? I think.
Yeah, I'll just check.
Sure. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. So, yeah, I was saying that, on the same note, it's also important for you to understand that if you know a psychologist personally, you cannot take therapy from the psychologist, because that's one of the professional ethics that don't allow us to kind of give therapy to people we know or we are connected with, because we are not supposed to be, or we are not allowed to be biased. So never go for a therapist that has a personal relationship with you, any sort of, in any capacity, whether it's your friend, whether it's your relative, anything is not recommended, because then they cannot be the best psychologist that they should be for you. So having said that, it's also myth that, what, I am not going to I've seen a lot of people who went to one psychologist and gave up. went to one psychologist, said that, you know what, I don't think this is working for me. And because this is not my, this is not my jam. And I don't know how people do it, but I don't think I'm getting along well with my therapist in terms of my therapy goals or objectives. So my point is, it's very important to keep searching a good therapist until and unless you find your perfect match. It's very important, because giving up on therapy is not the solution. So there are a lot of misconceptions when it's surrounding counseling, like why is it so expensive when it's just people talking to you? You know what? This is the kind of sentence only those people will say who have not undergone therapy. Because when you undergo therapy, you realize how much of a scientific base therapy has. Psychology is a science for a reason. So it's not just talking, it's coping mechanisms, it is behavioral strategies that can help you scientifically to deal with things that are going on in and around your life. One more misconception is, until and unless it's like a really huge issue, really huge problem, you should not go to a psychologist, which is not right again. I mean, I can go on and on about the list of misconceptions that people have, because it is the most stigmatized field, one of the most stigmatized field around us. People are scared of psychologists. People are scared of getting themselves associated with mental health. And I will never understand why. Because it is the need of the hour to actually be a little more open and talk about it. Simple as that. Like if you have certain doubts, if you have certain thoughts that are confusing, talk to someone who can help you out, give you the right source of information, and then take an informed decision. So one more misconception, if I would like to talk about it, is that, you know, a lot of my colleagues also have these misconceptions. Like they have their own set of or ways of working, and they feel that it's okay to take up more cases or things like that in a day. So let me clear that myth too. A psychologist should not technically take more than 5 cases first hand, because there is a bandwidth of a psychologist as well. You cannot mentally expect a psychologist to take more than 5 cases. So if your therapist is taking more than 5 cases a day, it's not a very healthy thing. So be a little mindful about that too. Okay, and I think every therapist needs a therapist. A lot of people ask me, you know what? Oh, you are talking about awareness. You are talking about how someone should ask for help when you need it. Do you actually go for a therapy session? Yes, I do. So I practice what I preach. I'm not a hypocrite. So every psychologist also needs a psychologist. Until and unless they have one, I don't think that they can do their jobs as psychologists quite well. So that's being, that's that there are a lot of misconceptions that I hope I have cleared, but we still have last few minutes for you know uh, dealing with doubts and misconceptions. If there are any sort of questions that you would like to ask me, please feel free to ask me, and you can post it in the chat box and we can address it later. So that's about the misconceptions, and there are lots more, but I think all of them are pretty what do you call it? You could deal with them on a day-to-day life. Like for example, for other things that are more there's more awareness related to the misconceptions than the ones that I mentioned. Like, for example, there was this one misconception when I was actually researching for my TEDx talk. I actually had asked a lot of people this question, that what is that one misconception that you have? So I am an ally of the LGBTQ community, and one of my friends actually said that his parents took him to a psychologist and said that they wanted to cure uh, homosexuality. That is the most ridiculous thing that I've honestly. I mean, see, this is the level of misconceptions people have around mental health and other areas. So we really, as a society together, need to work on getting more clarity on things and asking the right questions to the right people is what I really feel. So now moving to need for awareness. It is very, very important to be aware of why mental health is such an important issue and what exactly is causing the taboo and what can we do to kind of undo the taboo that is there. Because it's, I mean, why is it that we need to wait for, um, I don't know, things like Sushant Singh to happen to become so sensitive towards mental health? Why do we need a Deepika Padukone to actually come up and open up about her battles of anxiety and depression to understand that yes, mental health is okay? We don't, I mean, that's one reason why we need to be completely aware of it. We need to be aware of the fact that mental health is important. Why is it that you want to stay in discomfort? A lot of people I know aren't even aware that they need help because we have a habit of, suppressing our mental health needs so badly that, like a lot of the prejudices that we have around us. Speaking about mental health means you're weak, men are not supposed to cry, all of these stupid misconceptions and, prejudices actually lead to people suppressing it. Why men are not supposed to cry? Like, I don't really understand that. And the programming to on the subconscious mind is so rigid that actually I've seen this that uh, men don't really talk about their mental health. They don't find themselves comfortable when it comes to expressing negative emotions. It's essential to understand that, you know, the way we treat, have you ever like said that, oh, I'm, I'm happy for a long time. I should not feel this. No, because I mean, it's happiness. Happiness is a good feeling, it's a good emotion. So, why are we so unfair with our negative emotions? Why do we keep saying that, no, I don't want to feel it? I don't want to feel it. I want to just shove it away until and unless it comes back with double the intensity. I mean, it's like a spring. The more pressure you put and suppress it, the more it's going to turn the energy to acceleration and jump up. That's exactly what happens when you suppress your negative emotions. That exactly happens when you are like trying to suppress, the feeling of despair, or you're trying to suppress the feeling of, feeling resentful about something. And you basically, what you're doing is you're suppressing it so that it's going to come back multiple fold later on. So instead of that, just sit down, and deal with your feelings. A lot of people ask me, how do we know when to ask for help? Now, this is a very encouraging question because at least, it leads to a conversation which says that, okay, I want to know when I need help. So there are certain things that you need to be aware of. The basics, like, is your digestion getting affected? Because any kind of mental disorders, stress, or discomfort, even mild discomfort mentally, first affects your digestive system, guys. So if you feel your digestive system is acting a little weird, like there's loss of appetite, increase of appetite, lack of digestion, just sit down and think if you are going through some sort of mental discomfort or stress. A very, very first, very basic symptom of being aware of whether you need help when it comes to mental health. The second is your sleep pattern. If you are, so 6 to 8 hours is the normal duration of sleep that everyone needs. If you are needing, or you are like experiencing less amount of sleep than that, or more amount of sleep, like for example, if you're sleeping for 3 to 4 hours, or you're sleeping for 10 to 12 hours, both is a sign of the fact that your mental health is not really up to the mark. So that is also one thing that you need to be mindful of. So your appetite, your sleep pattern, and the third thing is your, are you feeling a sense of helplessness when it comes to reacting or responding to situations? When it comes to your mental health, everything is about stimulus and response. It's about action and reaction. It's about how you respond to a particular thing. So if you feel like your responses have been off lately, you feel like, the things that you used to respond in a different manner, you've now started reacting to. That is exactly when you need to understand, okay, this is not me. A lot of people don't know this, but the main causes of unrest or the beginning of mental health issues are when either you're trying to fill a void, there's some sort of emptiness in you which you're trying to fill up, and you use various destructive ways to fill it up because you're trying to avoid thinking about it. Now imagine you are feeling empty about something inside. There is a point where you feel like, no, you know what, this part of my life is really challenging, and I'm exhausted, and I'm feeling like I'm drained out. And then people come up with ways of trying to fill it. Some people fill it with anger. Some people fill it with uh, feeling hopeless, giving up on themselves. Some people fill it with alcohol. Some people fill it with, I don't know, video games. There's so many things that actually, all the addictions, all the dependencies happen because you're trying to fill that void along with mental health challenges that you get as a complementary gift with the dependencies. So basically, if you're trying to fill a void, you actually end up having mental health challenges because that's not how you fill a void. You fill a void by facing it and by strategizing how to replace or restructure those thoughts with healthier ones. So basic one point was filling up a void. What is the other point where people feel, that they're finding it difficult to deal with the challenges? It is simple. If you are trying to be someone you're not, you know, that's one of the major causes of mental health issues. If you're trying to be someone you're not, as in if you're trying to pretend to be someone because someone else is comfortable with that, things like people pleasing, overcompensation, all of these things actually lead to a lot of mental health issues. Like there are so many things I wouldn't want to do, but I will do because it's for the people I care. I wouldn't set boundaries or say no when I'm clearly not okay with doing it. All of these things actually lead to mental health issues. So that being said, I think when you talk about awareness, this is something that all of us should be aware of, that, okay, these are the signs which if we see, if we experience, then we need to kind of focus on ourselves. And most importantly, listen to yourself. If love yourself enough to know that, yes, I am feeling, discomforted. I am feeling the pain. I am feeling restless. I am feeling uneasy. So I need to ask for help. And the point is, what? People still don't know that they are not alone. I mean, India is one of the topmost countries, unfortunately, where, we are enough to be called as one of the most depressed countries in the world. And why is that? There's one sentence that is ringing in my head when I ask why. And the sentence is, log kya kahenge? We spend half of our life thinking, what if I go to a therapist and people will know? And what will they say? What will they think? So that gets me to destigmatization. So it's very important to be, I'll conclude the point of awareness with one last, one last area that I want to cover. It's very important to be aware about your own mental health and also people around you. If you see anyone struggling, make sure that you give them unconditional support and you tell them that it's okay to feel like that. It's okay to feel that, you can't do it by yourself. And it's okay to ask for help. So it's very important for you to be mindful enough about whether you need it or not. Also about whether someone around you is needing it or not. Both of it is equally important. And you have that responsibility as an individual to make sure that, you are mindful about yourself and others who need mental health assistance or mental health awareness, and try to spread this word around you also, that don't shy away from asking for help if you need it at any point of time, any given point. So that being said, I'll move to destigmatization. It's very important to understand the stigmas that surround mental health, because people actually behave as if it is something that is like a sin. It's like, it's if you talk about your mental health, you are going to be treated as if you are, not a part of this society or something like that. Now, having said that, like I deal with a lot of clients every day, and a lot of them actually have come and spoken to me about this, that, we've not told our family members that we're taking therapy. Now, how disheartening and how heartbreaking it is to see this, that you have to hide from your own family that you are doing something to work on yourself. You're doing something to make yourself stronger. Is it something that you should be ashamed of? Trust me, everybody goes through mental health issues. people who have the courage come ahead and say, yes, I need help. So it's very important to destigmatize. It's very important to sit down and talk about it. It's very important to, you know, go give a hug to people who really feel that they need help, but they cannot talk about it. And the symptoms that I spoke to you about, you can observe them in other people also and make them understand that, okay, this is probably why, um, you need therapy, and you'll probably be hated because of it. Because no one likes to hear that, oh, I think you need help. But as an individual who's close to the other person, it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to go ahead and tell them that all of these are misconceptions and you should feel free to go and talk to a psychologist. And it's also important to understand that, destigmatization is not going to happen in a day. I mean, I think when I became a psychologist, people were laughing at me because they thought, you know what, who's going to come to you and who's going to say that, yes, I need help? They actually made me feel like I've made a very wrong choice of career. But I was passionate about the subject because I myself had gone through a lot. As a child, I faced through a lot of challenges, and personally, I faced an eating disorder before I even knew what it was. A lot of people actually, have a stigma that um, mental health issues are, for people who, it's more like people feel it's hypochondria. Like it's more like something that, so hypochondriasis is when you read about something and you start feeling it, you have it. Like Google, you know what? If you post something in Google, say you sneeze thrice, and you post it in Google, Google will give you like, oh, probably you have asthma, or you have COVID, or whatever. So that increases hypochondriasis, which means that you will read something and you will have a tendency to feel like, do I have it? You know, do it? I think when I was studying psychology and we were studying about personality disorders, I remember very particularly about clusters and thinking that, if after reading every personality disorder, there used to be one symptom, which I used to think, "Yari, ye to mujh mein hai. This is me." So that causes a very risky condition called hypochondriasis. But people feel psychology is of that nature, or people feel that people who feel that they have anxiety or depression are just pretending. That is the biggest stigma. I mean, why would someone pretend to be in pain? Is the person stupid? Why would you pretend? Like, is someone going to be happy to be in a place where, people who are in depression, they don't even feel like getting up in the morning and brushing their teeth? Do you think someone is going to like to pretend that? This is, I don't know. I mean, this is beyond me. How can people say that, oh, you know what? ये सब चोचले हैं, anxiety, depression, सब चोचले हैं. कैसे? Why would someone pretend to be in so much of pain? Please tell me.
Shrutkirti, sorry to interrupt. There's a question on the chat.
Oh,
Did you see that?
I can't see it.
Okay. I'll place it to your window. Yeah.
Can we?
Okay, so the question is, there's a myth. Counseling will change your personality beyond recognition. Does it actually? That's
Okay, yeah, this is very interesting actually, So the point is, the objective of therapy is, or counseling is, not to change you as a person. It's for you to identify who you are really as a person. So, it's a very interesting thing that people actually live in apostrophes. You know, like I live as someone's daughter, as someone's friend, as someone's sister. We just live in roles. We have forgotten what our real personality, core personality is. So I don't think that therapy or counseling changes your core personality. It just makes you realize what your core personality is, or it just kind of optimally enhances your personality to a point of originality, how you were as a person before all these things happened with you. And that actually helps you cope up with the issues better. So yeah, I don't think it changes the personality. It just helps you grow it, and it helps you restore it. Okay, what are the red flags to look out for when you're finding a therapist? Very interesting. So when you're finding a therapist, okay, uh, okay, can I just read it once? Just give me 1 second, please. How do you identify that someone needs help, and how would you get them to seek help, taking into account stigmas? Okay, so first question, I'll first go with the first question. What are the red flags to look for when you are seeking a therapist? Well, if you're looking for a therapist, make sure that the therapist is qualified. Please. I mean, it's very important to know the education qualification, but a lot of people today are claiming to be therapists by doing like a 6-month certificate course, which is scary, honestly. So, and then there are a lot of life coaches which are there, which I appreciate. It's a very different, area of expertise, but it's not psychotherapy. It's not counseling. So yeah, first thing is qualification. Make sure that your uh, um, uh, therapist is qualified enough. Second thing um, that is very important to look forward to is the multiculturalism, to understand if the therapist is open enough to understand which cultural background you are coming from and is going to talk to you the same way. Like, for example, you cannot have, so there's a reason why a lot of people who are settled in America go for Indian therapists who are back home, because they want to be, understood. So you cannot, like, when I say cultural background, I don't really mean like where you're from India or whatever. What I mean to say is basic value systems, in terms of the fact that, for example, if you're even talking about someone who's older, like way older to you, that's not going to work, because they will probably not understand the challenges that your generation is facing. Make sure that your psychologist is open-minded enough, does not blame you or people around you. Blame games are not something psychologists are supposed to play. They're not supposed to blame people or you. Okay. So that is also one red flag. The most important red flag is if the psychologist is open to having any other relationship with you apart from a professional one. Extremely important. That's the biggest red flag. You're not supposed to. Okay. So I hope I've answered that question.
Yes. There's
All right.
one more, if I can read that out. So how to deal with fake people around, knowing that avoiding them is not possible because they say it is very challenging mentally. You want to take that?
So are you, so I'll just address the second one, which I can see in the chat, and then can we go for the third one?
Please, please.
All right. So how do I identify that someone needs help? I think I've already answered that question in the first half, where, you look for these signs. Is the person eating well? Is the person sleeping well? Is the person behaving out of character? Is the person, responding in a way that he did not or she did not respond earlier? All of these things help you understand whether the person is okay or not, and whether he needs or she needs psychological help or not. But if how would you guide them to seek help? Luckily, now we have a lot of platforms where you can search for a therapist very easily. Like Live, Love, Laugh, Deepika has made it very easy. We have like every city has their psychologists mentioned, and she has a thorough process of screening. I love how they had grilled me for 2 hours before they took me on board. So, so basically, yeah, I mean, go for trusted sites like that and make sure, because they had a screening process where they interviewed me for about an hour and a half, and then they had my original degree scanned and sent to them. So go for sources which are credible, like Live, Love, Laugh or Kelp HR for that matter. Kelp HR will also guide you because they have a lot of mental health professionals which are associated with them. So yeah, it's very easy to find one if you know the right sources. And if you talk about the stigma around it, I think, you know what, so the most wonderful thing about therapy is that it is anonymous. Like, I will not discuss who my clients are with anyone. So basically, if it is just between you and the therapist, how does it matter? Right? I hope I have answered that question too. Okay, so what was the third? Thank you. Okay, Hira. Yes, thanks a lot. Yes, what was the third question
The
again?
next question was how to deal with fake people around, knowing that avoiding them is not possible. It is very challenging mentally. That's what they mentioned.
It is, absolutely. I agree with you. Because there's so much of inauthenticity around us that, it's very difficult to, it just gets, I think it's very toxic, it's very draining to deal with people who are fake. But I think the most important way or easiest way you can deal with it is setting boundaries. I've always been very, very pro setting boundaries, because boundaries are things that actually help you maintain that peace of mind for yourself. It's okay if, someone is trying to cross a line with you, but it's not okay that you let him do that. So the only way to deal with fake people is the first step is already done, which is realizing that they're fake. The second is setting boundaries and letting them know that this is okay and this is not okay. I will not be all right if you behave this way with me. So protect yourself. That is important. Third, be the most authentic version of your own self. Understand that that will help you to keep yourself away from people who don't deserve to be in your life. It's okay to not like people sometimes, and it's okay if people don't like you sometimes. What you need to prioritize is how you feel after being around a person. If you feel a person is not healthy for you, cut the person out of your life. And if you cannot, some people come and tell me, you give this bade advices that cut the people around you. Sometimes they're family. Sometimes they're people who are very close to you. Sometimes they are, your loved ones. Then what to do? You can't cut them out. No, you cannot. But again, then you can make your boundary game strong and make sure that you let them know that it's not okay to talk about a certain things. And the boundaries might feel very uncomfortable at first because they feel like you're being selfish. But no, that's self-preservance. You're not selfish, right? Because it's very important for you to say, so if you set these boundaries, the relationship will be better in the future. Right now, it might cause a little bit of discomfort. So everything in psychology or therapy, or when you start working on yourself, causes discomfort at first because you've never dealt with it before it. You keep running away, keep shying away from it. And when you deal with it, like if you work out after a long, long time, your muscles get sore. And after a leg day, you can barely walk, right? But you know that in the long term, it's going to make your muscles stronger. Trust the process. So even if setting boundaries, working on yourself, working on your mental health feels very discomforting, don't give it up. So one myth here, before I forget, I almost forgot to mention this. A lot of people feel like it's, why does it take so much of time for them? A lot of people ask me that, why is it that oh, ma'am, it's been 2 months. Why is it, how much more time will it take? It's okay. So you have been dealing with certain issues that have been haunting you for years, but then you want to work on it on like in 2 months. Not happening, dude. Therapy is a continuous process. It's a continuous process. It is going to take time. And people who have given it time have seen that over the period of time that they've invested in it, they have grown to a point where they can deal with their own issues very soundly. And you know what? A counselor or a psychologist will be the happiest, and if she's a good psychologist, like I call myself, we will be very happy when a client feels that they don't need us anymore. So yeah, that myth has to go that, counseling or therapy can just be done like this, or it has a timeline, or it can be done in 2 months or 4 months, or I don't know. How are you going to do? Are you going to say the same thing when you get diagnosed with diabetes? It's a continuous process, no, to keep working on it and make it manageable. There are certain things that you have to keep managing, because mental health issues are something that are going to affect you on every step of your life, maybe in different ways. I'm not saying it's the same intensity, and you will deal with them amazingly well if you've taken therapy. But it might happen that after 3 years, I've seen this, few of my clients, they return, they come back, they say, you know what, ma'am, I was doing great till now, but I think I need some help with this particular situation at this point of time. It's going to be a continuous process. You cannot put a timeline or a zone to it. Okay. Yeah. Do we have any other questions?
I have one more that came offline, that whenever there's couple counseling, is one of the partners look like a villain? Is it possible? Is it a myth? Or
Can I have the question again?
so the question is, whenever there is couple counseling,
Uh-huh.
uh, does one of the partners get to become the villain?
If your therapist
true?
is good, then probably not. Because I'll tell you, a lot of people feel this, that when you go for a couple counseling, it's going to be one-sided, because what will the other? I mean, I have always, whenever I have taken couples therapy, I have always made sure that there's an equilibrium between both the sides in terms of, first of all, like I spoke in the beginning, that psychologists are supposed to be very neutral. So even if the person is talking to me and telling me his or her side of the story, I am not going to be influenced by it and say, oh, yes, you know what, the woman is right and the man is wrong. No, I will not say that, or vice versa. What I will rather do is understand everything and probably give them tools to communicate better, deal with their own issues in a better way. So no, that, I mean, if your psychologist is good, then you don't have to worry about the fact that one person will become the villain. There will be a very open discussion about things, a very unbiased. I hope I answered that question. All right. So I think in conclusion, I would just like to say that don't be hard on yourself when it comes to, speaking about mental health. seeking mental health, talking to people about it. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on people. Be open-minded, be compassionate, be loving, and also understand that this is just mind is a part of the body. It's not a separate thing. So don't treat it like one, and don't treat it like, you're talking about someone else. It's you. So all of you who are here today, I am really, really glad that you all are. And it's majorly because I feel that it's very important for all of us to know a little more about this and understand that when do we uh, ask for help and how do we do it.
I have one question if you're okay to take it.
Yes,
There's a
sure.
question that says how to communicate to an employee.
Hmm.
Sorry, one second. How to communicate to an employee that you may identify some signs of mental health issues, illness in a professional setting.
Okay. So
That's it.
I think one thing that plays a very important role here is HR. And that HR can actually be like a kind of like a bridge between the uh, upper management and the employees. That's one thing that I feel. And the second thing is, if you feel like you can come and speak directly to the employee, then probably just put it across in a very, very non-judgmental, healthy manner. That I've noticed that you're feeling a little uh, discomforted, or your performance level has changed. You're finding things more challenging. Is there anything that we could do to help you with it? And then we have things like EAP also, right? So that is also one thing that can help in the process majorly. And I think everybody should make this like a tradition now in each company, that what, like there are physical checkups every year, there should be mental health checkups as well. And make it like a tradition that, oh, you know what, okay, all of us are going to sit down and discuss, and then going to take a decision whether we need it or not. I think that's one of the things that we can start, but that's a dream. That's very idealistic. But yeah, like I said, you could just have like a one-to-one conversation, which can be very direct, but at the same time, you have to be very sensitive about it, because this is a sensitive topic. You can't just be very blunt and say that, oh, I think you need help and you should consult a psychologist. That's not something that a person who needs help would like to hear. So I think empathy, that's the first thing. If you ask me particularly, empathy is the first thing. So you have to show some empathy, some compassion, and then suggest the person that he needs help.
Thank you, Shruti. There's one more that you want to take. It's open on the chat.
Oh yeah. I am looking to pursue career in psychology as an advisor. From where to start? Advisor, as in, I didn't really understand what. Can you just like put some shed some light on what exactly do you mean as advisor here?
So when I say advisor, I need to start advising people, start my own setup as a counselor
Okay.
in psychology. It's not a therapy, it's not clinical, it is just based on counseling as a psychologist. So how to start a career in that?
So even if you want to start a career in counseling psychology, which you're talking about, even if it is not clinical, it is not, so therapy is a part of its counseling. I mean, if you look at it technically, therapy and counseling are very similar to each other. Unfortunately, right now, definitions of counseling have been very vague of late. But when I was pursuing my masters, I think we were very, very so we were taught everything that implement in therapy as counseling.
Mhm.
So ideally, if you want to go about it, then I think there has to be a degree.
Yes.
So if you, because people don't understand that it's very sensitive when it comes to, so you're dealing with someone's mental health. So even like a smallest amount of loophole which you have while dealing with the person can actually impact the person's life in a big way.
Yeah.
Not so positive. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you have to be, even today, after 12 years of practicing therapy and counseling, I still have to be very careful about what I implement in which client's life, where every person is different. So I have to be very careful with that. So understanding these nuances actually come with the correct base for knowledge, which comes only from a degree level. So if you really are passionate about it, I would suggest you go for a bachelor degree or a master's degree in counseling psychology. Unfortunately, we just have a master's degree. I don't think we have a bachelor's degree in counseling psychology. But you can, if you have done your master's from arts or science background, you can actually, I mean, bachelor's from arts and science background, you can actually apply for a master's in psychology. I mean, counseling psychology.
Okay, okay. And what about if I am an MBA HR, so how it will go
See, if you
for.
want it to support your, main career in terms of being an MBA HR, then you can do like a 1 year old, 1 year old, I'm saying, 1 year long diploma course, which will give you the basics.
Mhm.
But then if it's only to kind of be support of what you're doing, right? You cannot
But I'm not sorry for interference, but I'm not looking to support my career. I'm looking for a parallel career building wherein I can be a
then
counselor.
then unfortunately I will have to say that you'll have to go for a proper degree.
Okay, okay, got that. And will that degree support me to be
Pallavi,
a
I'm going
counselor?
to intervene here. Pallavi, I'm going to be
Yes.
intervening here. I think you have great set of questions. Why don't you do one thing? You write to us at info@kelp.hr. I'll type it out here. And we
Okay.
will get Shrutkirti to, I mean, not
Yeah,
get.
Yes,
amazing,
for
amazing. Thank you
sure.
for that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Sorry, because I think the subject we are little digressing and we are holding
A
so
little
many.
bit, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's for sure.
yeah, and we have overstepped by 3 more minutes. Any more questions, folks? All right, I think we've answered the question. Shrutkirti, thank you very much. I think you have taken us through the understanding of the myths and what the big taboo around it. While
I hope that I did justice to the topic, Smita. I was just, yeah.
I think, Shrutkirti, it's a beginning, and there is no straight response that after this, the myths will be busted. I don't
No,
think.
of course not. But then I just, the reason why you called me for this webinar, I think that I just hope that that has been,
Yes. So
justified.
yeah, I think the conversation should, or the sowing of the seed in the mind of the people should have begun by now. By the end of this, they will start thinking, they will start discussing, they will bring it. So Usha
Thank
said
you, Usha.
beautifully, that definitely broke the ice. So thank you very much for that. And I think uh, we've come to the end of an hour. Thank you so much. Any closing comments from you for the team here?
From me,
Yes.
I think it's like I said, I think Kelp is doing a wonderful job at, like you said, keeping the conversation going. Very, very essential. And you're doing a great job at that. And I think, even your EAP sector has been growing so beautifully that actually is very, very closely associated with the area that I work in. So I am personally very, what do you say? I find it, like I was telling you in the beginning of the conversation that we started, it is very nourishing for me also as a psychologist. For me, I feel I learn every day.
Absolutely.
And if I stop doing that, then I am done. I think then I'll not be valid for more than a year after that. I think everybody should keep learning, and that's what Kelp helps me do. So I'm really glad for that opportunity to learn also. It's very important for me.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting me for on this beautiful platform where I could interact with so many people. And thank you. These are such lovely comments. Okay, Sweta, can I just ask you for a small favor? Can someone just take a screenshot and like send it to me?
Sure, I think we can do that.
Thank you so much, everyone.
I don't know, DP, will you do it? Because I will struggle from my side.
Yes, I'll do that. I'll do
Shall
that.
I do that?
No, I have an issue.
You can do
with-
that yourself, please. Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, I think. But
I'll
haven't taken,
unpin you.
I haven't taken a screenshot in a long time. I'm really bad at all of this. Oh, yeah, okay, no, I think you know what? Someone please do it for me. I don't want to mess things up.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Chetna.
I know, thank you so much for such lovely comments. It's
Thank
really
Yeah.
endearing.
Yeah, thank you, Usha. So sweet of course.
Very sweet of everyone.
Thank you, Shashikant. Thank you, Shailesh. Thank you, Vardhana. Thank
Yes,
you.
Usha said a very interesting thing here. Like how they say one has to go for counseling, one can never be taken for counseling. It's true. You won't, I mean, there's no point in someone forcing someone,
Absolutely.
until they feel it's necessary. That's lovely.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care of yourself. And I think we'll stop recording and